that you've got.
Sí, es verdad.
Morning.
Good morning.
How you doing, Dusty?
Good, man. Just got off the phone with your mom right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like you're talking smack, man.
I know, but I said that. I was like, man, that doesn't sound right. Dude, they've just been so great, man. And,
awesome.
Yeah, getting started on the cards and stuff like that. So
cool. Well,
yeah.
welcome aboard, big guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dusty.
Hey, Amy.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. How exciting.
I know. Got the band back together.
I know. It's awesome.
Very cool.
How are you doing, Leslie?
Good. How about you?
Good. And don't know, have you met Dusty? I can't even talk right now. Have you met him?
I don't think so. I don't think we've met.
Hi, Leslie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Dusty. Welcome.
Thank you. It's exciting. Glad to be on board.
Glad. No, it's awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Yvette's connecting. I don't know if is your audio working, Yvette?
She looks frozen.
I know. So maybe she'll come back in.
Oh, cute, like the dog.
I know. I was looking at that. Super cute.
Text her right now. Well, in the interim, does anybody need to grab any water or anything? Are you guys good?
I'm good.
Right now, yeah.
You're good?
I got my coffee. I'm ready to go.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we'll get going. I'm going to start with this. So this, hey, good morning, Yvette.
Good morning.
Hey, Yvette.
Hello.
So just quick introduction. We got Dusty here just joining us. He officially came over to Veteran Home Services.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Yvette.
How's everyone doing? Hi, Dusty.
Hi. Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. I've heard great things about you.
You as well. Yeah, this is exciting.
Yes.
Glad to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got a pretty solid squad coming together right now, and definitely unexpected, and a huge, awesome surprise. I mean, first Amy coming in, and now Dusty coming in, and Leslie and Yvette, they joined a bit ago, and hopefully everybody's been seeing a lot of just positive growth and just really pushing themselves more than you've ever been pushed. And it's not our goal to push you to your limits by any means, but we definitely want to make the most out of this opportunity. I know we're all committed and dedicated to being our best in real estate, and just grateful for you all to make the time here today. So thank you guys. We're going to do our best to try to end at 10 o'clock. You guys know how tough that is for me personally, but I'm going to do my best to try to end at 10 sharp. And then just to kind of give a little bit of background of what we've been doing, Dusty, with these Friday meetings. So it's been my fault for the last 2 weekends because I've been out having a good time with my family snowboarding. But before that, we met together a few Fridays at 9 o'clock, and it's more mindset focus. So while we were at the Wood Ranch office, we actually did these on Monday, and Monday was more of our mindset focus, which worked really well before the week. But what I've found out, and then we started doing them when I left the company, started doing it with another group on Fridays. Fridays worked out really well because as real estate agents, as you guys know, the weekend is that's like our time. If you're productive, Saturday and Sunday, you need to be strong. You need to be committed to the right activities. So we started doing them on Fridays, and we had some amazing results last time we did this. So we did it with a group, started at about 10, then eventually grew to almost 20 people. Consistently, there were probably about 12 that would show up every single time, and then at times as low as 6. But we made it through the entire book. And I was talking to an agent just the other day that she accepted our offer without even countering. First day it hit the market, which you know how rare that is right now. She was a part of it. She closed 20 transactions last year. She's only third year in the business. And she gives a lot of credit to Think and Grow Rich, the mindset, just understanding. And she was just open and committed to it, and just went for it. And she says the momentum's still carrying with her right now. She still recalls some of the things that she was basically taught or understood by reading the book and being a part of the group. And the awesome thing about this is we're all at different levels, and that's great. And that's actually what makes the group so special. What we want is a very trusted, safe environment that you can share and know that it's going to stay here in this space. We record it for ourselves and we put it on our own private group so that if you want to go back and watch it, because say something comes up and you got to go, or whatever happens, and maybe you just like the message of the day and you just want to reflect on it, you're always going to have that recording to be able to go back to. So it's pretty amazing to see what happened. I know how much I've appreciated it, and I've read that book over and over and over now. And so before we get started, I want you to hear the history of how Think and Grow Rich was created. And you're going to hear directly from the author. His name's Napoleon Hill. It's not the most exciting guy. I'm just warning you. It's in black and white. Almost as boring as my monotone right now. But it's he wrote this around the Great Depression. So you got to remember that people committed suicide. They lost everything. And what's ironic is what we just went through in the pandemic and how that's impacted us individually, our friends, our family, and everybody around us. This book couldn't be a more perfect time for anybody. And it's almost like we're reliving what happened during the Great Depression. And I guess if there's any positive hope or anything out of it, is what happens when there's a big, huge disruption with everybody's lives is it's kind of like somebody just hit the reset button and it just leveled the playing fields out. Where before you had these machines operating at a high level, taking all the business, doing everything. Right now, it's up for grabs. Who wants it more? Who wants the business? Who's willing to work? Who's willing to get on the phone and make that call? Because whoever's in touch and making the connections and the conversations, they're going to be the ones showing property. They're going to be the ones that are going to get the listing appointments. And the people who are most active right now are going to be the ones that are going to be able to take more market share than they've ever had the opportunity. Think about it. We don't have open houses anymore. There's no open houses. There's no door knocking. It's leveled the playing field completely for everybody in our business. So
I have a question. Can you door knock?
you're not supposed to right now, but
Okay.
There's companies telling them to do it though.
I know, but you're not supposed to. Until we get the official green light. I mean, they're not even letting our kids play baseball and softball yet because we're still supposedly in the red tier. And it's a big thing if you are door knocking. What I hear people doing is they're door dropping and thinking that that's okay because you're not actually interacting and communicating with people. But if you do, and I'm not suggesting that you do, you got to keep your 6 feet. It's not worth the risk right now. As much as I know Leslie loves to door knock. That was her bread and butter for a long time. That's all she did was door knock. And so she's just chomping at the bits. We can't wait till she can get back out there. And the second we are allowed to door knock, we're going to do it together as groups. So if you guys want to do it, I know my dad was getting excited talking to Dusty the other day before this whole shutdown. He had this vision, and he did. After his 4th door he knocked. And all he does is he looks for properties that have flags up. And I'll share it with this group because this is what we're going to do and what we're going to approach. He didn't talk about the military. He didn't talk about veteran home services. He didn't talk about real estate. He just literally would door knock on their door and just say, hey, just want to thank you for flying that flag out there. Just appreciate your patriotism and your love for this country. That's all he would start with. And then 9 times out of 10, they're letting them inside the house. Hey, come in here. Check this out. This is what we got going on. It was the perfect icebreaker. And then typically they served or they were a police officer or something that they have a lot of pride in this country. And all people want is the acknowledgement and the respect. And that's what we were talking about, that even now more than ever, especially if you are more, let's just say conservative, right? You're looked at in a certain light that people have been felt suppressed. So they appreciate the acknowledgement of just the love for the country. So it's just, without getting too political here, it's a great opportunity to knock on some doors and to do it. But unfortunately, Amy, we got to hold off for now, just as of this point, but we are going to hit it hard the second that we're allowed to. and we're going to hit it in forces. We're, you know, in groups, and we'll get some t-shirts made, and, you know, got a bunch of good ideas with it. There's so much opportunity of what we can do together, but let's get going with this here. So I'm going to start it, you know, try to stay awake. It's a little slow. We're only going to do about 5-10 minutes of it, but you're going to hear directly from Napoleon Hill himself and his story of how he met Andrew Carnegie. And so I'm going to play it right now. Just one sec.
Theoretically speaking, I have no right to be standing here talking to you. Theoretically, I could be up in the mountains of southwest Virginia with some of my relatives who are still alive, going on mountain fields, killing rattlesnakes and drinking corn liquor. That's where I was born. Theoretically, I did. But fortunately, some 55 years ago, the hand of destiny reached up into that wild country, lifted me out, and started me on a career the like of which never has been performed in this or any other generation. In 1908, my brother Vivian and I matriculated to Georgetown University Law School, intending to become lawyers. We didn't have any money, but I had the experience as a newspaper man, and I agreed to pay the way of the two of us through the school by writing stories about successful men. Fortunately, my first assignment was to interview the great Andrew Carnegie, founder of the United States Steel Corporation. Mr. Carnegie at that time was the richest man in the world and was known throughout the world as the best picker of men. Mr. Carnegie gave me 3 hours. And when the 3 hours were up, he said, "Well, young man, this interview is just starting. Come on over to the house with me, stay all night, and we can take it up after dinner." I was so glad he said, "Come on over to the house." If he had said, "Go down to the hotel and come back tomorrow morning," I would have been sunk because I had just about enough money in my pocket to pay my way back to Washington. Well, after dinner, we went into the library, and he started then to tell me what the world needed most. He said the world needs a new philosophy based upon the know-how of men like myself, who have learned the road of success the hard way by the trial and error method. He said the creator or organizer of such a philosophy will not only build a monument to himself through our time, but he will change the lives of millions of people. Well, I listened to Mr. Carnegie's analysis of this marvelous idea of his for 3 days and nights. And I wondered why in the world that great man was spending so much time with me, talking to me about something of which I knew little or nothing. But at the end of the 3rd day, I got an idea of what it was all about. He said, "Now, I've been talking to you for approximately 3 days about this new philosophy. I've told you all that I know about it. I've told you of its possibilities, of its potentials at every level. And now I wish to ask you a question, and I want you to answer that question with a simple yes or no, but don't answer until you make up your mind which it is. If I commission you to become the author of this success philosophy, give you letters of introduction that will open doors to you will have to have open, are you willing to devote 20 years to research, because that's about how long it will take, earning your own way as you go along without any subsidy from me, yes or no?" What would you have said if you had been sitting there in front of that great man, just enough money in your pocket to pay your way back home, who would ask you to go to work for him for 20 years without compensation? Well, what you have in mind, I suspect, was what I had in mind at that time. I could think of all of the reasons in the world why I couldn't possibly accept that opportunity. Isn't it strange that when you put a new idea before almost anyone, the first thing his mind does is to jump to the no-can-do part, the negative part. You think of all of the reasons why he can't possibly accept it. And people who are in the field of selling are certainly acquainted with that habit of mankind. Well, I tried to open my mouth to tell Mr. Carnegie why I couldn't do it. I had in mind at least 5 or 6 good reasons. But something inside of me stayed my tongue. And then all of a sudden, something inside of me said, turn you to it. I said, Mr. Carnegie, I not only will accept the commission you have offered me, sir, but you may depend upon it that I will complete it. He grabbed me by the hand and said, I not only like what you said, but I like the way you said, you've got the job. And I thought to myself, my goodness, what do I have? Well, I had to go back down to Washington and break the news to my brother, tell him that I was dropping out of law school and he would have to pay his own way. But having heard that when you want to sell a man an idea, it's best to feed him first, I took him over to the New Willard Hotel, the best hotel in Washington at that time, and bought him a nice dinner. And as we sat down to eat, he said, Napoleon, I don't know what you're up to, but I know it's something. You've done something wrong, or you wouldn't be buying me a dinner like this. I started in. I gave him the whole story much more in detail than I'm giving it to you here. And when I had finished, giving that up, wanted to present.
Yeah, I just saw the messages right now, so sorry about that. Didn't see those till towards the end. Were you able to hear any of it? Were you guys able to hear it, or was it kind of tough?
To be honest, Brendan, I couldn't. I don't know if it was me, but I couldn't understand him. It was muffled.
Okay.
Muffled for sure. I can only make out 2 things, and I'm like, wait, what?
Okay. Yeah, it's not the best recording quality. And if you guys ever get the chance, there are audio lectures that are his live lectures. And again, he's not like a Les Brown. I know Yvette loves her Les Brown. Different, it's a different type of charisma. And you can tell somebody who probably wasn't the best speaker, who actually became a really good speaker and impacted a lot of people. Just goes to show anybody can do it if you care about it enough and learn how to do it. But just kind of the gist of it was he was telling the story of he was going to go to law school with his brother, and he was going to pay the way for him and his brother. And the way he was going to do it was interviewing successful people and writing about them. So the first person he was going to interview was Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie was worth about 400 something million at the time, which is hundreds of billions of dollars today, more than Amazon's owner Bezos. He had more money than Bezos did, where everybody considers Bezos one of the wealthiest people alive today. Carnegie had more, right? And he came from nothing. And he created a steel company and was able to eventually buy others. And then there's the story, which is at the end of this chapter, talking about how Carnegie sells the company and who came up with the idea, who did the introduction, who did the speech, and then sold it for over $400 million. So Napoleon Hill, while he's young and trying to go to law school, reaches out to Carnegie. Carnegie agrees to allow him to interview him. They have a 3-hour conversation. Something about, and this is what Napoleon Hill said about Carnegie. Carnegie was a picker of men, meaning he could read good talent, and he could read and see if somebody had what it took to be something special. So he reaches out to him. They interview for 3 hours. He tells him, hey, come over to my house. Napoleon Hill barely has enough money to get over to his place. And he was grateful he didn't have to stay at a hotel because he didn't have the money for a hotel. So he gets to stay at Carnegie's house for 3 days. And he didn't realize it was going to be a 3-day event. And by the 3rd day, he's wondering, why has this guy got me here sharing all these philosophies and things with me? And then at the very end of it, he asks him a question. This is Carnegie asking Napoleon Hill. He says, I'm going to ask you a question. I want a simple yes or no. And that's all I want. I don't want an explanation, just a yes or no. And the question is, are you willing for the next 20 years of your life, willing to study this philosophy and commit to this philosophy without compensation from me? I'll help you with introductions, but you're not going to get paid anything for 20 years to understand, master this philosophy, and then be the one who writes about it or puts it into a book so that anybody can read it and understand it and apply these principles to themselves. And he said he came up with 6 or 7 reasons of why that was going to be impossible. He barely even understood. He even said he didn't know what the word philosophy meant, right? He's like, I don't have the money. I don't have the understanding. Like in his head thinking this is going to be impossible. There's no way it's going to happen. And he said something inside him held his tongue back from saying his excuses of why he can't do it. And then just said, yes, I'll do it. And I'll see to it that it'll be finished. And it was the way he answered it with that commitment and that conviction that Andrew Carnegie grabs his hand and shakes his hand and says, hey, thank you. I like the way you said yes. And I like the way you committed to it. It was that certainty. It was that definiteness. So that's the story. That's the intro of how he was introduced to Carnegie. And then he then interviewed 500 of the most successful, wealthy people at that time. And because Carnegie was the guy, he was able to say, here's Thomas Edison, give him a call Thomas Edison up and say, hey, I want you to talk to my boy Napoleon Hill here. You know, he's going to interview you, share with him everything of how you became who you are. And he did that through 500 of the most successful people. So they focus a lot on that in the book, but they don't talk about that he also interviewed thousands of people who failed. Or maybe, you know, you don't want to call them failures, but people who just kind of conformed and just did the 9 to 5 and just lived with whatever society gave them. That's what they took. And he interviewed thousands of people who were considered failures. And so he understood the difference of, okay, this is what the same common traits of people who succeeded and the same common traits of people who didn't succeed. And he developed his philosophy. So that's where the book comes from. So just wanted to give you guys that, take a little bit of time instead of just cramming in chapter by chapter. Oh, this, you got to read this. What are you guys getting out of this chapter? What are you getting out of this? When you kind of understand where it came from, it just gives a little bit more relevance in understanding what the intent was behind the book and what you could get out of it. So it was anybody, you know, just from what I shared, does anybody have anything to say about that?
I missed a bunch of it, so
That's okay.
Oliver's here acting
No worries.
like a 3-year-old.
It's fine. So what we'll do is we'll jump into the chapter. Did you guys get a chance to look at the questions? Is there any question in particular? And I'll write it down that you want to volunteer and do. I know the first one's always like, what was the best idea that you took from that chapter, from chapter 3? And I'm going to try to pull the questions up on Facebook really quick. So just 1 second. But if you can think about if there's a question that you like, that you want to answer, please let me know. And it's just first come, first serve. So whichever one you want to pick. So what we used to do before is when I assigned the questions on there, people would just claim them on Facebook and just say, hey, in the private group, hey, I want question 1, I want question 3 during the week. And then sometimes we would just do it the day of. But yeah, if there's one in particular you guys want to volunteer for while I'm looking for this, just
I like question 5.
question 5 for Yvette. Okay. Go ahead, Dusty.
I think I have the right questions. Is this so? Number 4, how can memorizing the self-confidence formula? Is that number 4? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll actually share that screen right now so we can see the questions in front of us. Cool. It's these questions right here. So yeah, 4 is the self-confidence. Do you want to do 4, Dusty, or is there?
Again, I'm new here today,
Yeah,
so
all good.
Are you kind of bringing this up to see the impact of that question to not only what I got from the book and my own personal, or what?
Yep. Whatever
Okay.
you want to share about it. So it could be your interpretation of it. It can be why you think that could positively impact your life, or, you know, however, whatever your thoughts are. That's it. And see what happens in part of this. The cool thing about this is when you get to a true environment where everybody's trying to help each other out, we all trust each other. There's no jealousy. There's no envy, right? It's in the self-confidence formula. I'm going to eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism, and develop a love for all humanity. When we truly can create a group like that and all be aiming towards the same goal of doing well in real estate, you start creating what's called a mastermind. And in that mastermind, you start accessing information that we wouldn't come up with on our own. So some people call them brainstorming sessions, right? But what's pretty sweet is you're going to see that we're going to have some pretty amazing discussions just by opening up, trusting, not having any of those negative feelings. And again, we want to get to the most positive space possible and tap into it. You'll see what I'm talking about. They talk about vibration of thought, all kinds of crazy stuff that seems so far-fetched, but it starts to make more and more sense. So does that make sense, Dusty?
Absolutely. And, you know, I got up to page 53. I had to skip chapter 1 and 2, but, you know, I'll get a little personal here. You know, some of this stuff I shared with you the other night, you know, I grew up in a tough environment of a lot of negativity. I grew up in a household where, and that's just generations of it. And it's amazing what can just be said and then how much power that has, whether it's negative or positive. And I guess I'll share the story that I shared with you. You know, my mom, bless her heart and rest in peace, she grew up in a tough environment, and the negativity that she would raise us on had a huge impact. And one of the things I was telling Brandon the other night is, and I'm totally dating myself here, but you know, in the 80s, there was unfortunately a big rise in street gangs in LA, and it was, you know, there was a lot of poverty and all that. And I'm maybe 5 years old, and I will never forget, my mom was like, you know, Mijo, you don't go to LA because everybody's killing each other. You know, and it was just the way she was telling me is something that was so negative. So fast forward to maybe later that year or a year later, my pops takes us to a Dodger game. So instead of me being super stoked that I'm gonna go get a foam finger and I'm gonna get a Dodger dog and I'm gonna see these athletes that I've been watching on TV, that whole ride there, I couldn't breathe. I was so scared because I'm driving to LA, and my mom put it in my brain that if you go into LA, I'm gonna get shot and I'm gonna get killed. You know, and that's a huge on the negative side. But when I read stuff like this, I reflect on those negative things and how it really took a toll on my mental health, number one. But then on the positive side, I look back at all the things that I have accomplished, or the material things that I wanted. Perhaps maybe it was a girl I was interested in. When I set my mind on that and I would not get up whatever I wanted off my mind, I look back at those times and I was like, the majority of the time, I got those things because you know, and it sucks because at times when we try to apply that to work, we think work, right? And then it's that negativity of, gotta go to work. And maybe it was because I had so many years in a corporate environment that, yeah, it's the 8 to 5 and half the time you hate half the people you work with. But if you just, for me, what I'm trying to rebuild in my psyche is if I can just apply those, looking back, whether it was the car I wanted, and just apply that to my future, which is my job. At the end of the day, it is a job. There's no limitations to it because I'm the one that creates that, you know, basically brings it to fruition, I guess.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
That's good, Dusty. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
That.
So,
Welcome.
are you going to share your nickname, or is that a negative?
Can we put Amy on mute, please?
Yeah. She gave me permission already. She texted me this morning that I can mute her, so I was gonna mute her because it's getting a little loud back there.
Okay, understand.
For those that don't know, Amy and I went to high school together.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, anything else anybody would like to share? I got some thoughts to share with what Dusty shared, but I actually I'd like to hear if anybody else would like to add on to that, or, you know, anything that they took from this book.
I just want to share that, like, I agree that it's really, you have to have repetition of positive thoughts.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's kind of like what it said in the book. If you're constantly always saying a lie, then all of a sudden it's like it comes true. You think it's true.
Right.
So, I mean, that's something that I think is always like a good reminder. You just have to always think positively and start the day off like that.
Yep. No, that's great, Amy. That's you're hitting it on the head. That's one of the most important concepts to understand from this. So the one thing that you'll hear a lot of, even when, and I try not to refer to C21 too much, but it's just something that we all experienced, everybody here in this group. And, but people would always say, oh, it's cultish, right? When they did the morning ascents and they're doing this self-confidence formula and they're repeating it out loud and they're chanting it and they're doing it, it's like a cult. And that, again, that's a negative attitude. That's a negative vibration that's getting in their head to create the doubt, to create whatever you want to call it, haterade, whatever you want to call it. There's a principle that works, and they talk about it in this chapter, and they talk about autosuggestion, is what many psychologists call it, is autosuggestion. And what you're doing is you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. You have a conscious mind, and you have a subconscious mind. There's two parts of your mind if you want to look at it that way. And your subconscious mind is, they say that's your gateway there, right? To whether you want to talk about infinite intelligence, whatever. That's when you can start controlling your subconscious mind, which is much harder to do, and influencing that. And you do it by repetition of thought and repetition of positive affirmations, like you're saying, Amy. Because if you don't do it and you don't do anything, negativity just flows in. And that's what Napoleon Hill talks about in his audio lectures. He says your brain's like a vacuum. If you are not purposely putting positive affirmations or positive thoughts and ideas or positive people around you, then the negativity is so strong and so powerful, it will consume you. It will take over, and you'll get to where it's just all you can focus on is the things that make you angry, the things that make you upset, that make you whatever. That's all you're going to think about. And I do it all the time. And it happens still naturally. And it's still, when you come from a family that doesn't have a lot, it's a poverty mindset, right? It's a desperate mindset. We come from, we're used to the bare minimum. We think money is bad. We're taught, oh, if you like money or you go after money, your family is going to be screwed up. You're going to have all these issues. And we would hear that as kids. Look at this family. They got all the money, but look what's going on with them. We're still together. We're all broke, but we're still together, right? But we still weren't happy. And there was still a lot of anger. And there was still a lot of negative stuff that was happening that was impacting us as kids. And each one of my brothers and I have all responded differently to it. And some people will still hold on to it. And I did for a long time, until I started realizing that this isn't about everybody else who's around me. I need to pay attention to it. I need to be aware of it. This is about me and looking within. This is about looking at myself. And I'm going to share something that I shared with Dusty the other night, and it didn't come to me until then. And I got called on in front of, it was a manager retreat. And myself and one manager out of the Utah office got asked to speak in front of everybody. Very little time to prepare. It was a 2-day event. We're at the end of the first day, and 2 of us get called on. So we got the night to prepare, but we're all going out that night to have a dinner, socialize, whatever. And then the next day we need to speak. First thing in the morning, we're going to be the first ones to present. And the question they asked us is, okay, what do you attribute to the success of what you're seeing in your office? Right. And, we're going to give you 10, 15 minutes to speak about it. Go ahead and think about what you want to do. So we go out that night, we hang out, whatever. And then when I get back, I go, it's do my family thing, and it's getting time to wind down. Well, I don't wind down. I go to the garage and I get my audio recording, and I start practicing what I'm going to speak about. And I start trying to just speak from the heart. And I'm not thinking about it. I'm just speaking and speaking and speaking. And of course, a lot of it that came back, if you can guess, was Napoleon Hill's self-confidence formula and Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. And the self-confidence formula, I'll try to do it, and I hope I don't butcher it. I don't even want to put that negative thought in, but goes like this. First, I know I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action towards its attainment, and I here now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I'll concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of auto-suggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of obtaining the object back of it. Therefore, I'll devote 10 minutes daily to demanding myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I've clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I'll never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I'll engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. Okay, let me get back to fifth because I'm losing my train of thought there. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I'll engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects. I'll succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I'll induce others to serve me because of my willingness to serve them and to serve myself. I'll eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism and develop a love for all humanity because I know that a negative attitude towards others can never bring me success. I got to look at the sheet now for the end of this. It's almost there. Okay.
I mean, that was like the end.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
That was good.
All right, I'll sign my name.
I thought you were reading it, to be honest, at first, but then you would skip words or add words, and I was like, oh, okay.
No, I'll sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I'll become a self-reliant and successful person. So the reason why I just did that right now is first, I spent a long time trying to memorize that. It took a while. But I didn't obviously have the time to do it before then. We would start every meeting off with this self-confidence formula. It was the very first thing that we did. If you truly can understand the philosophies of what you're trying to program your subconscious with just understanding those 5 statements of what you're saying through there, it's the repetition of thought, you start understanding the success philosophy. So I started it and I stood up and did it. And in Utah, this is what they do on a regular basis. So all the other managers started joining in. So it got easier because when you skip a word, they fill you in on that word and you just keep going. So it started from beginning to end and it was cool. And after it was done, it was pretty sweet. I got a nice little, ovation for doing it. But more than anything, I wasn't doing it for that. It was to speak to them about the impact that it's already had on my personal life. And the question that came up after I did my little pitch about why I saw success happening in that Wood Ranch office, the very end of it, the question that was asked, which was a very intelligent question by this girl who's like the CFO of the company now. She started as like an assistant, used to just make phone calls for George Morris, set appointments for him. And then at the end of it, she's one of the most trusted people. Her name's Gretchen. And she got elevated up to the top with him. So she asked me the question, and she's called it Everest like eyes, like you were transformed by Everest. And the way I looked at it was through Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. But she said, how has it changed your life? And I told her, I said, that's a great question, because this was happening at that time where I would come home and I would be pretty upset about whatever. I would see flaws in, I'm trying not to get into too much personal. You all know my wife and how amazing and beautiful and just sweet she is. But I would come home and I'd be upset that, dishes weren't done, the house wasn't clean, the food wasn't made. I was brought up in a family environment that food was always prepared for dinner every single day. So I'm getting upset and I'm jumping on her all the time and just always getting angry. As soon as I get home, I'm angry. And it's like, okay, am I pissed off because I had a bad day at work? Am I pissed off because I'm truly unhappy with what I'm coming home to? And once I started reading this and understanding this, I started realizing that the issue wasn't Danielle, wasn't my family, it was me. And once I started focusing on me and focusing on what were my demons, what were my negative qualities, why would I look to the negativity so quick? And I started understanding that and being open-minded to this philosophy. All of a sudden, there were no issues. There was no problems. There was nothing wrong with anything other than me. I was the problem. And so as soon as I realized that and acknowledged that and did that, started working on myself, all of a sudden, everything got better. The relationship got 1,000 times better. Everything improved and so quickly and so rapidly that I started understanding so much of this is attitude, and having a negative attitude or a positive attitude. And how do you look at things and what do you focus on? Are you grateful, or do you complain and you're just upset, right? And once I started getting that, and she started seeing the difference in me, I started working out more. I started just journaling more. I started writing more. I started reading more. All these positive things started happening. It's like, when do you have the time for it? You make the time for it. You have to focus on yourself. That's why it says I'm going to dedicate 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. What is that 10 minutes daily? What are you doing to develop your self-confidence? What are you doing when it says I'll concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person, right? What do you do to visualize what you want to be? The girl, right? The thing that you want, whatever it is. What are you doing to put yourself in that state of mind? Are you doing that? Are you taking time out for yourself? Or are you just waking up and reacting to every text, every email, every situation that comes? Or do you know what you're going to do through that day? Do you have a definiteness of purpose? Do you have goals for the week, for the day, for the year that you can break down and keep it so it's doable, not overwhelming, but figuring out how do we accomplish this? All of these philosophies and everything we teach and we preach and we do is what works and what will lead to the success that you want in your life, if you want it. So it's, I try not to get too excited about it, but you guys can tell I'm a passionate person. I get fired up about this because I know this is the secret. Secret is, and you hear it a lot of times, there is no secret. It's understanding yourself. It's understanding other people. Even though you're looking within to work on yourself, your focus is always in helping others. And when you focus on helping others, the answers come to you for your own issues and your own problems and the only things that you have to figure out. And the cool thing after I started working really hard on myself is not too long after that, I told Dusty the story. One of the things he talks about is recording your wife. And he was like, think about the first time that you started dating your wife. How did you act then? What were you trying to do? I mean, you could stay up all night, right? Not get much sleep. And we know what we're talking about here, and wake up the next morning and still be Superman or Superwoman and have all the energy in the world. You didn't get much sleep. And they call that the labor of love. Well, what if you could do that with your work, as Dusty just hit on? What if you can transmute that same love and passion into what you do for your work? If you truly feel you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you attack it the same way that you would for the person that you care about, but you can put that into your work, it's called transmutation, because love, sex, and faith are the three biggest positive things that you have within you that are the positive stimuli to accomplish amazing things. Now, with those same three ingredients, you throw jealousy in there with sex, or you throw jealousy in there with love, now it's toxic. Now it can destroy you, right? So that's that negative influence that got in there. If you're looking as a chemist and you can see what can happen, that can kill you, or can drive people to do things where they do crazy stuff because the wrong negative influence is in there. So it's key to understand that. You got to understand it's faith. Faith and love are the two things that aren't tangible. But when you understand what it is and you can use that, that's when people do some amazing, extraordinary things. Sex is the physical acting of it. But they also say if you're having sex with the wrong person or the wrong people, it's just as destructive. So you have to have control over that. And you have to know it's got to be with the right person for the right things. And then the power behind it is just amazing. And then sometimes people lose, like Abraham Lincoln. He was a failure. He failed law school. He failed the bar. He failed as an attorney. He failed everything that he did until he was almost 60 years old. The love of his life, he lost her. After he lost her, the inner genius came out. And it took that loss of a huge love to bring out his greatness. And again, even though it could seem as a negative, it turned into a positive because he understood the philosophies of a negative situation and finding the seed of equal or greater benefit, right, from it. So I know that was a lot. I kind of got going on one. I hope I didn't scare you guys all away. Any things you liked or didn't like about what I shared? You guys are all quiet today. What's going on? Yvette, come on. I know you got something going on.
This has been a very rough personal week. I almost just didn't do it today because it's a hard day. So you're not getting 100% Yvette. And I'm also not open as I usually am. But no, this is everything that I deal with in my life and dealing with negative influences. And like I struggle with people having negative the mindsets, because like my son's father always told me I got everything because of I was just lucky and who my family was, and he has a very poor mindset, and I have to do everything I can to keep my son from gaining that mindset, because I know I've worked for everything, and it has to do with my positivity and my belief, and it wasn't because my mom was a real estate agent. In a minute, baby, I'm working. I know, give me a few minutes. Hey. And then, you know, I don't have an easy cookie cutter life. I'm a single mom who works all the time and has a 3-year-old that just wants to play. And it's easy to get caught up in that moment of feeling like a bad mom because I can't just stop this and go play with him. But I have to look at the bigger picture and remind myself that I'm giving him a foundation to be a strong individual and take care of himself.
You're doing a great job.
You're awesome, Yvette.
So I just don't have the same space today to share.
No worries. You've already thank you for opening up, and I know it's not easy. But
I missed it, Yvette. Yvette, I missed it, but I want to let you know I'm here for you. You can call and vent anytime.
Yvette, you're awesome.
Yeah, 100%. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. And I get it. I get it 100%.
So, yeah, I've watched too many people with negative mindsets. You know, and it's easy to get caught up in this. And even, you know, between last night and this morning, I didn't want to wake up and do this. I don't want to work. I can't even think about, my mind's racing with all the things I have to get done for work today. And really, I just wanted to just sit and wallow in my bed and be sad. And so having something to read over and remind yourself is big for these days that are hard, because it's not going to be easy. Like we all know, if it was easy, everyone would be rich. We'd all be sitting pretty. But it's the days like this where it is hard that you have to have your strong foundation, or it will cripple you.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And
You know what Brandon, sorry to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
I just find it interesting how it seems to be so easy to be negative, but then when it, want to be positive, it's just like it's hard work to always stay positive. And why do you think that is? Is it just like the society we live in now, the way we're brought up?
I do. I think that's a lot of it. You got to think of when I say conforming to society, I'm not knocking anybody who works a 9 to 5 job, who provides for their family. Most of my family does that. That's how, again, I was brought up. My dad was in the military. Everything was programmed and called for. We didn't have a lot, but we always had a roof over our head. We always had benefits in terms of health benefits. So somebody got hurt. But as a society, we're programmed. And there's a lot of things that program us to how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to go through school. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to try to apply for a job, work this job, hopefully work it for 20 years. Dusty and I know how that works out for a lot of people who are banking on their pensions and everything else. And they try to do all the right things. And Dusty and I have some experiences together on a very personal level that we saw this guy, and I remember Dusty coming and sharing with me that he's crying. He got laid off at the second time. The guy had 2 masters, one of the most positive people you'd ever meet, always dressed up in a suit. It's like if you had like the star candidate, perfect worker, boss, whoever, this was the guy. And now he's being laid off from a big corporation because the economy is taking a hit. This is after the housing crash. It hit the security company about 3 years after it hit every other field, just being what security is. And this guy did all the right things. He got laid off. I think it was like countrywide 2 years before, has to go back to his wife and say, I just got laid off. And then 2 years later, same thing, he gets hired and things are good. We're at a Christmas party talking to him in line, nicest guy in the world, and he gets laid off. Whole point I'm trying to say is we have to take control of our own destiny. I remember him telling Dusty and sharing with him saying, hey, you work real estate, you work for yourself, create your own life, do it. And I remember him telling him that. And I know Dusty went for it not too long after that. And he went full into real estate, not doing it part-time, but all in with it and went for it because he listened to what that guy said. And so for us, and that guy was a good positive influence, Amy, not the negative, right? But there's so much negativity in the news. There's so much negativity. That's all the news is. And social media, everything is geared towards people want to see the car accident. They want to see the drama. They want to see all that. And for myself growing up, we watched Jerry Springer. We watched all that crap stuff, right? And the only thing I can think of is when you see people doing worse than you don't feel so bad about yourself.
That's true.
And that was a lot of, I think, the brainwashing and the mindset. And I was grateful that we ended up in Camarillo because you know what? For the first time at Rio Mesa, we had some really poor people, but I had some of the wealthiest people that I've ever met, at least people who had dads that were surgeons and attorneys and doctors and dentists and everything else. And there were only about 15 of those kids in the school. And luckily I was friends with them. So I saw what was possible. But if I finished high school in DC, it would have, even though I had a few friends that had parents as attorneys, it wasn't as abundant as you have here in Camarillo. So, but just because you have people who are successful in careers doesn't mean they're happy. Just because they have money doesn't mean that they have inner peace. And to be honest, those are the biggest people that you feel the sorriest for, is the people who have a lot of things and still don't have that inner peace, because it's not about that. And when we talk about being rich, we talk about being rich in relationships with the people that we love, our family members, right? Our spouses, our parents. Are we a great daughter or son? Are we a great brother? Are we a great friend? That's the richness. And with that, the money comes. It's all going to come because we talk about the influence and the power that comes with that. But it's focusing on the right things. But yeah, it's I can't give you a short, easy answer to what you said, Amy, but I think you already know what it is. It's a strong, powerful force. Recognize it. And what I have to say with Yvette, just getting back to it, one thing that I've tried to figure out for myself is when I hit my points, my low moments, and my points where I'm just really frustrated or life just seems like it's coming at me, what can I control? What can I focus on? And how do I stay focused on the things that I'm grateful for? How do I focus on the things that I'm just so truly appreciative of? And so when you're in that worst moment, how do you get to that? And sometimes I need to listen to my Napoleon Hill, listen to Les Brown, whoever, or open the book and just start reading and writing. And that little exercise is huge for me. So when you're getting to where you can't do anything or any of that, and you got to take that moment, start doing some of that. The other part of it is try to do some type of physical exercise if you can, and get out. And I know Tony Robbins, he smacks himself hard and like does a huge motion to snap himself out of it, right? If you're in that funk, you can feel sorry for yourself for a small little, give yourself 5 minutes, whatever, cry it out, do what you got to do, smack yourself out of it. Your son is looking at you and you know it, and he loves you and he's looking up to you and he's so proud of who his mom is. And that's why you're doing this. You're doing it for him. Even if you don't have it in you to do it for yourself, you're doing it for him. And that's what you have to remember. Why am I doing this? Why do I grind through this? Why do I push it? Why is it so hard to attain what it is that I want? But you got to be able to refocus yourself. And I have a hard time not tearing up and getting emotional when I hear that, because you know I love and care for each and every one of you that are on this call. And I mean it as sincerely as I can be. Even though I know some of you I don't know as much. Amy, we've known each other the least amount of time. I care about seeing you all succeed. And it's success and just happiness. I want to see each of us in here happy, truly happy, whatever that is. Whatever happiness is for you, I hope you find it and I hope you see it. And you know what? Unfortunately, and this isn't, please, nobody take this the wrong way. One of the coolest things that I found was while we were doing these meetings, there was this guy, a young guy, his name was Greg. He'd come to our meetings, and Leslie probably remembers him. And one day it hits him. I'm going on one of my rants, whatever it is I'm getting fired up on. And I'm talking. He was like, dude, it just dawned on me. I'm like, what? He's like, what the hell am I doing in real estate, man? I need to be a teacher. I need to get into teaching. I like working with kids. I want to teach them and be a sports coach, right? And he's like, I'm so sorry you've invested all this time. I was like, bro, you don't understand how happy I am for you, man. You know what I mean? I said, you were killing yourself in real estate. And he could have made it if he stuck it out. But he figured out what his calling was. And it's like, how cool is it to be able to talk about life and talk about these ideas and philosophy, and it just resonated for him. He figured it out. And he thought like he was like coming to me to like tell me bad news. I'm like, bro, I'm so excited for you. And I gotta say the same thing here. It's whatever it is, it's happiness. There's a lot of different things you can do in real estate. It is very difficult to be that rainmaker. And everybody here can have that possibility. Find what you're good at. Stay in your strength zone, right? Work on some areas that are tough, but stay in your strength zone. Stay in the area of what you like to do. And it's going to be different for everybody. Some people prefer on the contract side, paperwork side. That's their comfort zone.
What?
Got me in the middle of one right now.
No worries.
And then
So
some
it's,
people, Brandon,
go ahead, Leslie.
and then some people don't like the paperwork stuff.
Yeah, some people hate the paperwork stuff, right? And
How
some
could
people
you
just
not
like to talk.
it?
What's that? How could you not like it?
Yeah.
That's what makes this team so awesome, is finding it. And we all want to grow, and we all want to, you want to cross train, and you want to be good at everything. And so just in case you're losing your star contracts person, you're still capable and able to do what you got to do, right? But it's even better when you can stay in your strength zone. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about as we get into coaching and other things. You know, I know we're getting a little bit deeper than this, but I think it's very important. I appreciate everybody on this call that's been opening up. Leslie, just because I, haven't given you a chance, is there anything that you want to share just in terms of what's been said? Any advice you want to offer for anybody, or just anything that's calling to you?
Sure. There was a lot of good stuff that was said. I can't think of all of them and bounce off of all of them, but what I can say is that mindset, I believe mindset is always key. Many times we're told, oh, I hope I win the lottery. I hope I get a lot of money today, or tomorrow. But here's the thing, like there's a journey to get there. And that journey is just as important than making it. Because again, you can have millions of dollars and then not really either make a difference with it or allocate it properly where it needs to go. But as long as you can stay positive, you can do the best with it. And going back to growing up, there are moments where I feel like a lot of people do get super influenced, within their surroundings. And I think it does depend how you approach it in life, and whether you use it as fuel to get to where you need to be, or you let it kind of bring you down. I remember growing up, and my parents were mostly dreamers. So I kind of grew up thinking, dreaming without really having substance to back it up. But eventually you start to realize, okay, there's a process to get to that dream, right? So now you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, what steps do I need to take to reach that dream? And one thing I've noticed about Napoleon Hill is he gives you those steps, and he makes it very clear to you that mindset is a big chunk of those steps.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, because without that, you stay on the couch, essentially.
Oh, that's great, Leslie. And Leslie, what is mindset? What is, people say mindset all the time. What's your understanding of mindset?
As we were mentioning, like, there's gonna be moments in life where there's negativity around you, and you can choose to absorb it and hold on to that, or you can choose to put it aside and probably bury it and then keep going and look at the end of that tunnel and essentially reach your goal, and stay positive. I know that faith has always been part of my positivity. Yes, we were dreamers, but we also had the faith that we would make it. The faith that God is with us, and he's, along with bettering yourself as a person and bettering yourself as a professional, God also provides you the platform. God also, guides you and keeps you safe, and all the above. Did I make any sense?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's tough when you talk about God, and I know you're a woman of faith, and this isn't about promoting beliefs or God, and that's actually what I was looking for in terms of mindset, and I think you articulated very well. Mindset is your belief system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you believe in yourself and whether you believe in a greater being, whatever that is. It could be the universe, some people say God, some people say just something bigger than just this all happening randomly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe that we're all part of sharing something on a spiritual level, that's the part that this chapter, and they'll say, we're not talking about religion here. We're talking about a belief and understanding, whether you want to agree with it or not. There's gravity, right? There's the law of gravity. There's certain laws that are out there, and you can understand the laws. You can deny that there's gravity, but your butt is sticking to the ground and to the seat, right? It's there. So, looking at it from a scientific standpoint, there's something that causes that small little acorn seed to grow into a huge, amazing tree that produces a whole bunch of acorns. So what causes that? Is that complete random chance? Is there something that's complete random chance that causes a small little sperm and an egg that get together and that create you and create every individual, your son, your daughter, your children? Is that random? You could say it's random, right? But there's something that breathes life into it, and that's what they're talking about with faith. Faith is the eternal elixir. And with us, if there is a creator and somebody who creates me, and the creator can have a vision of, okay, I'm going to make Dusty this way. I'm going to make Amy this way. The cool thing is he also gave us the ability to create. He gave us a brain. He gave us the ability to think for ourselves, to be able to create an idea in our mind and then turn it into reality. That's what this is about. Being able to visualize, okay, what is it that I want? What am I telling myself? What's the story that I keep telling myself? What are the people that I love? What are they telling me? And how much of that am I allowing to come in? One of the best things that I ever heard was from Grant Cardone's Be Obsessed or Be Average. He said the hardest people, and he talks about haters, he talks about, he's just very direct, cusses a lot, just straight to the point. And one of the things he talks about is there's people out there that are going to be jealous of you. And there's people out there that are going to tell you you can't do something. And they're going to tell you, you know what, you don't have it in you. You don't have that ability to do that. And he's on the hardest ones are the ones that you love, because it is your parents. It's your brother, your sister, your spouse even. It could be. And they're telling you, you know what, you really don't got it in you, guys. You don't have it in you. And you have to look at the source, no matter how much you love them, no matter how much. And a lot of times they're saying it out of love. That's the hardest part. They care about you. They're telling you, hey, I don't want to see your heart broken. I don't want to see your dreams go up in flames. I don't want to see you not accomplish what you're capable of doing. So that's why I'm telling you this, right? I'm just trying to bring you down a notch. That's what we're talking about with this influence of the people that love you and care about you. And they mean well, and they're bringing you down if you allow it to. So the hardest thing to realize is you have to know, look at the source. I don't care how much you love that person. Look at the source. Did they quit? Did they give up on their dreams? And if they did, why are you listening to them? Right? Because 98% of people in the population have quit. They gave up on what they wanted to be when they were a kid, whether it was Star Wars and being a Jedi or Stormtrooper or whatever, right? Whatever that dream was, they gave up on that dream a long time ago. And they took a job just to pay the bills. And they started living a life just because that was what they were told they were supposed to do. They got married because it was the right thing to do. They did this, they had kids, and well, you got to take care of your kids, whatever, right? Society tells us this is how we're supposed to be. The biggest thing you can do is listen to that inner voice. And that thing from whatever Grant Cardone was talking about, it was a realization for myself. I can still love the ones that I love. I still engage with them. I don't tell them, hey, you're wrong, right? I don't go in and just say, yeah, I disagree with that. That's a limited mindset. And, that's why you're a failure and why I'm going to be so successful, right? I don't say all those things. You love who you love unconditionally. You know that they mean well, but I don't allow it. I don't need approval now to do what I want. I don't need that acknowledgement from somebody else unless it's somebody who I see has done what I want to do. And if you're going to study anybody, study the greats, study the great leaders, study the most successful people that are out there. And you're going to see, just like Napoleon Hill saw, that there's a common thread of how they got to where they want to be. They all do the same things. And a lot of times we think it's an insane amount of work, and it's not. It's how do they think? Go ahead.
To add something. So just how we get to choose our friends, we get to choose our leaders, right? We get to choose who influences us and who can really make us the person we're intending to become, rather than, it's harsh. I'm not meaning it in a bad way, but we don't always get to choose our family. And again, I'm super grateful for my family. I wouldn't change it for the world. But even better yet, we get to choose who we that leads us, right? Or gets us to reach our goals.
Absolutely.
That's so well said. And it's why I'm here with you guys today. I left a broker it was one of the hardest decisions of my real estate career, because he's one of my best friends and I love him to death and I love his wife. They've had such a great positive influence in my life, but they couldn't help me in the sense, and that's not knocking them, is I know what I need to fix to get back on track to become the agent that I know I could be. And when I was meditating on it, it's just, Brandon always just popped in my head. And it goes back. We've gone, Brandon and I worked together. It was funny. We met each other in a corporate office where he was already licensed. I had just got licensed, but we were working in a corporate office in Westlake. So it was like, yeah, you mentioned real estate, and it's like, you're in real estate? Yeah, I'm in real estate. And then, you know, and then the rest is history. And every time I think about Brandon and his family, it's just, I always walk away with feeling so great about myself. And I am the type, and there's other people that just, they're headstrong, man. They don't need that. But for me, I had to self-reflect on what's damaging, what has damaged my foundation. And I figured it out, and I needed to change that. So Leslie, you nailed it. And that's why I'm here, because I'm choosing my leaders to guide me to accomplishing all my goals that I want to accomplish.
You and I both, Dusty. I think it's amazing how positivity works, and Brendan and his family have always been so positive and guiding us. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you both.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for being here. You all have a choice, as you guys know, of where you want to be, who you want to be with, and surround yourself with. And I hope you all feel the support and the love and the care from everybody that's here. We're not trying to do anything miraculous, not yet, eventually. But right now, we're just trying to figure out, how do we have fun? How do we do well in real estate? How do we create the best reputation that we can create in this community and have an impact? And we do want people saying, man, look at these guys at Veteran Home Services. Look what they're doing. Every single one of them is doing work, you know, and it's not to put any pressure on any individual person. It'll all happen when it happens. You know, Leslie, we've had a long journey together. You know, Anthony, you're just about to start out, and I already see the time, and we're over our hour time. So I lied to you guys again. So, and I'm actually supposed to show something at 10:30, but I want to give Anthony just one crack, because you haven't had a chance to share anything. Anything in particular you want to share with the group, Anthony?
Yeah, because I'll make it quick, because I know we're short with time. So again, I think I'm a big believer in things happen not by chance, but for a reason, you know, destiny, or whatever you want to call it. So it's just interesting to see my success and how it's come about, even from like an early age when I started reading this, because, you know, it's talking about faith. And I think a lot of the times we don't value it as much as we should, you know, because I was looking back and just relating it to my life and the success that I've had, and kind of analyzing how I am the person that I am, how I've been successful, and even at an early age. Because what I started thinking about was, like, when I was a kid, I wanted to change the world. I wanted to make the world a better place. You know, first it started like, oh, I want to be a police officer, because talking about the 80s, I grew up with rough neighborhoods, gang violence, like that was my area of influence. And then after I started seeing people get murdered, I'm like, okay, maybe gangs aren't really that cool. Like, I don't want to have that lifestyle. And then I'm like, okay, if I become a police officer, I could protect the people that I love, but you can only do so much. And then I'm like, even at an early age, I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. I'm like, what if I get into politics? You know, I wanted to be a lawyer like Napoleon Hill. I'm like, I want to change the world by changing laws and implementing like a difference. And that's just the short version to say, I did some great things as a kid because I had such a strong faith and belief that it really got into my subconsciousness, you know, this auto suggestion that they're talking about. That's why it really like hit home when I was reading this. Just, I had to reread the first sentence like a couple of times, because I'm like, wow, like somebody actually put it into words, how powerful faith is, the science behind it, how it actually works. So it's not by chance, again, that I am successful in whatever I do, because I have that mentality. So, you know, as a kid in high school, like I was the only person I've ever known to, you know, travel abroad. Like, just for you guys that don't know me, like I got to go to Jordan. I met the king, I met the queen, I met the prince, I met the youth ambassador. First time I ever made the newspaper was front page in Jordan. I came back not really knowing that how special it was and the impact it had on my life, because over here, then I just started doing the same thing. Like, if I thought something was wrong and I wanted to speak out about it, like I was meticulous about it, I'd read about it, I'd learn, educate myself, and then come up with ways of bringing about change. So kind of fast forwarding how I got into real estate, because I, you know, yeah, Brandon was a key part in that. Me being here isn't by chance. And I'm just thinking, like, how things happen the way they do, you know, talking about faith, like the definition and the workbook. And I'm just like, okay, like there's a lot of value to this, you know, talking about self-confidence formula. Like I'm going to get it down. I'm going to hold it to, you know, the degree that it will have a positive influence on my life. And I won't talk much more, but I really got a lot out of this chapter, like I have every chapter, because, you know, I'm making it personal. I'm relating to it, and everything has value because, you know, I agree, poverty and being rich or whatever, it is all a mindset, you know, because I'm, you know, despite everything going on in the world, like I couldn't be happier. Why? Because it's that mentality. Like everything I have in life, I've worked hard for. Like I'm so happy I get to be a father. Like I enjoy every minute of it. You know, when my kids are crying and I'm changing diapers at 3 a.m, I'm like, I love it. Why? Because these moments are like precious. This is what life is all about. It's that mentality of every situation. You know, like when I was doing car sales and people treat it as a job rather than like what you were meant to do, whether it's selling cars or homes or whatever you're doing. And I'm like, every situation is an opportunity, you know, talking about love. Go with everything with love and kindness and the secret to success. Like you're not going to have envy or jealousy. Like just go with that mentality of positiveness and helping others. And the key thing I would say about, you know, how to strengthen yourself is the self-confidence. Because why? Like I've chosen not to do business with people and kick them out because I'm like, no, you're too negative. Like you're such a toxic, negative person that even if I give you everything, like you're not going to be happy. So it's to your best interest to get out. And it's something that people are like, what the hell did you kick them out? I'm like, trust me, like you're going to be so much happier. Why? Because your energy isn't being well spent. Like those people don't deserve you, you know? So going to like real estate and what makes you successful is like just knowing like everybody here, like you're meant to be here for a reason. Everybody's journey is a little different, but at the end of the day, like, you know, I really believe in our group and I have a lot of faith in, again, each and one of you as you open up, because like I see things differently. And, you know, I think we're all striving to be that person we've always imagined. But it's also taking a step back to realize like we're already there. Like maybe you're not at 100%, but you're enough of that image so that other people can see that you are the person that you were meant to be. So I'll just leave it at that. I could keep talking too.
That was good, man. Thank you. Great way to wrap it up. Thank you guys all for joining and sharing and just being open. I hope there was some positive things that came out of this call. And it's, you know, I never know what to expect, you know, never know. But all I know is typically after we do these, everybody's feeling pretty good afterwards and got something positive, hopefully, that they can focus on. And if there are any questions you want to talk one-on-one afterwards, you know, again, just I appreciate everybody supporting each other here. Please feel free to reach out too, you know, and, you know, we're here for you. And I can't promise you it'll be a short phone call, but, you know, it's I'll be here for you and give you an hour, block an hour out for that time, and we'll knock it out. So thank you guys. Love you guys. And just appreciate, again, your trust and your faith. And I hope I can be the leader that I hope I'm supposed to be. And for each person that's here, I'm hoping I'm leading in the proper way. So just thank you guys for your trust and your faith. And I hope we do some, I know we're going to do some pretty amazing things this year. So you guys have a great weekend, and we'll touch base again next week, next Friday. Before that, it'll be a Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We'll do a real estate training. On Tuesday at 10, do another Zoom. And then on Friday, we'll get back. It is the Mike Ferry coming up. I'm still debating whether to do it. It's not Mike Ferry teaching it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but he is focusing on the listing presentation. So I think I'm going to make the plunge. And that'll be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 9 to 12. Just shoot me a text if you guys think you want to be available for that, because I don't want to do it and it's just 1 or 2 people on there. You know, I'd like it for the group to be on there because there is going to be some good information that come out of it. But just let me know. And if so, I'll invest in it and make sure it happens. But Yvette,
You're a great teacher, Brandon.
thank you guys.
Thanks,
Yvette,
Brandon.
have a great day. All of
Thank
you
you,
have
Brandon.
an amazing day, guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And let's do work.
All
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
One time